Hi, it's Deanne. So let's talk about an apology. Like, what does an apology really look like? Because maybe you have been apologizing, but it doesn't get accepted. Or maybe you've been apologized to, but it just doesn't feel like enough. Like, it's hard to really let it go. Well, I mean, we have all this information about, if you don't forgive, then it only hurts yourself. And so, we need to just forgive and let it go. But how do you do that? Well, we won't let it go until we trust that something will be different. And so, whether you're delivering it to your partner or you're receiving it from your partner, there's some really specific things you can do to give them that information. So, the first thing is, if you're the one who did the regrettable thing, whatever that was, you rolled your eyes, you had sarcasm, you criticized, you raised your voice, whatever the thing is, you weren't at your best. So you want to sit with that and you want to imagine having a committee, right? An inner committee. And even though there may be part of you that's saying, like, oh, I know I shouldn't have done that, that was disrespectful, or that was an overreaction, I won't let it happen again. Well, that one speaking at your table is not the one that did the behavior. There's a part of you that did that behavior, and it had good reason. At least it thought it did, right? So think about, we have different parts of our brain, and whatever part is activated, in a sense, is the part that's head of the table or in the driver's seat. It's the one running the show. So it's not enough to have the other parts of the table go, now, that wasn't a good idea, right? Next time I should. That doesn't change our behavior. What does is leaning into putting yourself in the shoes of, and the way we do that is you replay like a video clip, being in that situation, and really try to feel in your body what it was like at that moment. Well, it seemed like I was backed into a corner, or it felt like, nothing I say was changing anything, or I wasn't being understood, or I'm just seen as all negative and then I just couldn't take it anymore. So whatever, like, really feel into that one, and feel free to pause because it may take a few minutes. You really feel into the one who blew up or shut down or did whatever it was you did. So when you feel into it physiologically, like feel in your body, that will give you the best clues. If you think about it, then it's up here, it's kind of trying to look down in there and go, now what was going on down there? And it always comes up with some crap story, like it's not the truth, okay? So try to replay it as if you were there and try to hear how you justified it at that moment. And it won't necessarily, I mean, for some of you who've done a lot of mindfulness or have done a lot of personal growth work, you'll really, like, it'll be pretty quick. 30 seconds, you'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, this felt like when nobody ever listened to me like I was a kid, and then I just screamed and yelled, and so I just did that. Or whatever it was, right? But try to notice what the thoughts were that go with it, or the felt sense of yourself, and then the behaviors that came with that. And notice how in your past, how that has been helpful, right? Like, well, then I'm just standing up for myself, or I'm not going to put up with that anymore, right? So the part that made this choice had a positive intention. Like, it meant to protect you in some way, it meant to help in some way. Even though you might regret, which is why we're talking about your apology, right? But it thinks that it was doing well. It doesn't mean that the rest of you agrees with it. It doesn't mean that you're just trying to come up with this to condone it or justify it to your partner, right? I mean, the last thing you want to say is, well, you just reminded me of my mother at that time, right? Or I just couldn't take it anymore, or you were pushing me. Like, yeah, that's not going to work very well. So really looking at yourself and asking, like, what was the purpose? What was I hoping for would happen? Another way of asking yourself that is at the moment that I was yelling or doing that behavior, like, what is it I wanted from my partner or from that situation? And really sit with that for a moment. Like, if I got what I wanted at that moment, what would that be? And try to let that play out like a video clip. And as you play that out, it's like, okay, so I just wanted them to understand, or I just wanted them to listen to me. I just wanted them to see how hard I work, or whatever it was. And then gently you keep saying, so that they wouldn't take advantage of me, or so that they would get off my case about doing more, or so that I could feel appreciated. Okay. And then again, say, so that so that I could feel loved or know that I was approved of or something, like that I feel emotionally safe. So that, and keep going until it's about you, right? So I am loved is about somebody else. I belong is about somebody else. So if you get a sense of belonging, then maybe it's inside is I am good enough as I am, or I'm okay even though I'm not a perfect human being, whatever perfect is, right? I'm not a robot. Or I know that I'm acceptable, and then I can feel calm inside, or then I can feel emotionally safe. Okay, so try to get a sense of what it is you really wanted. And then you loop back more from a mentor perspective, not from a shaming, like, well, then why'd you go and scream and yell? Or why'd you stomp off? If you wanted closeness, then why'd you shut down? You don't want to shame that part that was in charge at that moment that you were super upset. You want to then go back to that part and say, hey, I get it. So that felt overwhelming, or you felt like the only way you were going to be listened to is, except, did that get you what you were looking for? Again, not shaming, but hey, I understand that at some point in our life that worked, or at some point in our life that seemed like the only choice. See, when we're hijacked, we only have enough blood flow to go down the pathways that are like the ruts, the ones that are the easiest for our brain, which means the oldest ones, which means the ones from when we were the youngest, right? Before we had more tools. And so we want to talk to that part as if it is younger. Maybe it's a 25-year-old, 15-year-old, 5-year-old, right? So in their language saying, so hey, I know you wanted to stomp off, but you kind of went blah, you shot and run. So maybe what we could do instead is use a timeout signal, or we could flip that paper over that says I'm out of here, I need a break, but my intention is I'm taking the break so I can calm down and come back to this. Or that there's a code word that says I'm starting to feel my blood boil, I need space right now, right? I need to come back to this later. And then you can intentionally go release or soothe. And there's another video on release and soothe if you need more, but it might be that you go and you growl in a pillow, or you go cry, or you go take a bath. And it, maybe you go hit a punching bag. So the last thing you do at that moment when you call the break is then try to think about it, right? Because you have got all sorts of adrenaline rush going, and your body then is either trying to you might get shaky, right? Your heart is racing. It's trying to get you to fight or flight. Or at the same time as all that adrenaline rush, there might be your brakes like slamming on, right? That's what shutdown is. Except your brakes are slammed on, but your accelerator's on too, right? So the first thing we need to do is calm that adrenaline rush. And it takes at least 20 minutes. And it's 20 minutes without ruminating on it, right? Without like, I'm so mad because I can't believe they did this or that, right? That will just keep it going. And so if you call a friend to vent, be really careful that you're speaking about yourself. Like, I'm really frustrated, I felt shut down, I felt like I wasn't listened to, and so in my body it feels like this, or my sense of self is like I just don't matter, or I'm not valued, I feel small, I'm frustrated. But be careful to not like get stuck in the story of they do all these things and I'm victim to it. Okay. And if you want more about that, then look up victim, persecutor, rescuer, or some of the other videos on those. Okay. So once you have calmed down, then you can mentor that part and show it that there could be some other ways, like we're going to have a structured timeout, or that's when we're going to start counting with our breath, or heck, that's when we're going to sing the Barney song or the Smurf song, or play that soundtrack and run down the street and back. That's when we're going to use thought stopping, or we're going to listen to those ocean waves and that guided meditation about being at the beach, right? Or taking the elevator down into that calm, quiet place. Whatever it is you're going to do. Be careful not to bullshit yourself with positive affirmations at that point, like I am just fine, like, because there'll be parts that are like, no you're not, right? So be careful to say things that are true, like I will get through this, or I am using my tools, I have the ability to calm down, I am capable, if you have evidence of that, right? Otherwise you'll get parts of you that rebel against that. Okay, so you've gone off, you've taken care of yourself, you've mentored that part. Now how do you go back to your partner? Well, it's really frustrating or disheartening when you've done all that and you go back and you say you're sorry and then you're not believed or it's not acceptable. And so, to increase the chances that your apology will be accepted, meaning that the other person will gain trust that it won't happen again, is if you have then maybe done a thought tracking sheet and really sat within yourself to look at what was it I was thinking at the time. I'm sorry that I yelled, criticized, rolled my eyes, whatever the thing is. And I think that what happened for me is, when you were saying those things, I went to a place of, so I'm not good enough or nothing I do will work. And so, like I had negative self-talk in this way, or I had these body sensations. And so I felt triggered. And what I wish I had done is called a timeout, or what I wish I had done is asked for clarification. Like, hey, when you say that, do you mean this? Or is your intention this? Or ask, can you help me understand what your intention is when you say that? And that helps stop the domino effect within us if we're able to at that time. And we're not always, right? So in hindsight, I wish I was able to say, hey, wait a minute, I need to check this out, right? It's great to have signals because it's hard to use our words at that time because the blood flow is draining. So to have a signal or raising your hand or a color-coded thing or something. And then, so I wish I had done whatever that strategy is. What I will do in the meantime, and so that might be, say you had an angry outburst, it might be, I'm going to do in 15-second increments, I will run up and down the stairs throughout the day to get extra energy out. Or I will twist the pillow a few times a day, or I'll growl and beat the pillow every night for the next 3 to 5 days, to get that extra tension out of my body, and then hopefully I won't be so built up by the time things happen. So that's an example. Or I'm going to work on, look at some assertive communication skills so that I can have that conversation at work so that I'm not coming home so stressed out at the end of my rope. So it's some gesture that shows that it's not, that won't happen next time, or next time I get upset, I'll do this thing. It's, I'll do that now before that thing happens. Because look, we all know that when we're at our worst, that is not the time we're going to be starting some new habit, right? So it's an effort for yourself. This is not meant to be punitive, so I'll write 100 times, I won't do that again, right? Wash my mouth out with soap. Like, what we want to do is give ourselves the training of the thing that we'll need, or that reduces the chance that we'll get to that place, right? So it might be, I want to have Sunday evening meetings so that we're more on the same page throughout the week, so that I'm not so thrown off by what seems like chaos, right? So it's something proactive to prevent it from happening again. And so for both you and your partner, there can now be trust in that there will be something different, right? Okay, so I'm sorry that I named the behavior that you did. What happened for me, or what was going on in my mind is, and what I wish I had done is, because that proves like that you have some other strategy. And if you don't know, then I'll go get some help, or I'll talk to my mentors, or I'll watch some YouTube videos, whatever the thing is, okay? So I wish I had done this, but what I will do right now to help prevent that from happening is, and then at that time, after you've shown personal responsibility, you might ask your partner for help. So I need to know that when we call timeout, that you'll do your soothing too, and that you won't follow me once I've asked for a timeout, right? Or I ask that you also seem like you've got some tension, and so will you look at that and how you can also de-escalate so that when we're coming together about tough stuff, we're both from a calmer place? Or would you be willing to help me understand what was going on for you so that we can be more clear in our communication and have less chance of these uproars? Okay, so if there's some kind of specific support you want from your partner, great. Or if there's something else you want to ask for them that has to do with solving this, then that would be the time to do it. Okay, so it's not foolproof. There's always things that can sabotage, but apologies aren't just, I'm sorry that I blah, right? Like, or that won't happen again. We've got to prove it to ourselves right? That's how we build confidence in ourselves, is we fail and then we try something else and we see that we've succeeded. So if we don't have that confidence the next time that event is happening, then we're more likely to get triggered and lose it, right? So have that proof within yourself too, that you know what to do next. Okay, so if you need more, shoot me an email. I'd love to hear your comments and feedback about what parts of this make sense or what parts of you need.